change.
Morning. Christina?
Yeah. Nevada. Come on!
Yeah, so this part goes inside of your vagina and this part goes on top of the clit.
It's more than sex.
7 out of 10.
Okay, but when did you meet?
It flows though.
What? But
I aim to please.
Bitch.
You said it all, darling.
Crazy.
There will be new story.
Losing and finding it all the time.
I don't know.
I mean, fuck this guy, really.
Ooh, hottie!
Have you ever? Actually, let me cut this short. I'm pretty sure you have. I guess we have all been there, sitting in a bar, listening to someone talking boring stuff while we try to figure out what their dating profile had to do with them. Or kissing someone, only to find out that we can't taste them, and resulting into never endlessly sipping the drink instead. But also for any other reasons. I'm sure you've been there, saying a goodbye to a date that you know is a forever. You guessed it. Today, we're talking about one-timers, the dates that stay a one-off, for a lack of reason why one should repeat them. Are you ready for our date? It's a daring one. Let's get naked. It was Friday in summery Berlin. I was on the Autobahn, driving the car towards Berlin's west. It was my day off after a busy time of working. Yesterday's shoot was over, but the car we'd been renting was still with me for another hour or so. I was in a good mood. The music was playing loud, and I was only expecting niceties. I was about to meet my date, who had invited me to a day in Berlin's finest spa. I have a voucher for Bali that expires tomorrow. It's for 2. Wanna join me? A few days ago, I had reactivated my Hinge profile. With my settings set to not sure what my dating goals are, I had received a tsunami of likes. I guess this must have translated into I'm easy, we can have sex with no strings attached. Not sure I meant that. But I had so many messages, it was hard to decide which one to text back. Once the word Bali fell though, I was sold on meeting Alex. An Irish musician with piercing green eyes and a charming smile. That's what his profile sold him as. We hadn't been texting much other than let's go to Bali, so that's all I knew and all I was expecting. 30 minutes before the car rental expired, I rolled into Moabit. It's a part of Berlin that as a Neukölln bitch, you never end up going without having a good reason. Why? Well, for once, have you heard the name? Moabit. Am I the only one that thinks of morbid when hearing that word? Every time it comes up, I imagine streets paved with corpses of people that lived there for too long and died because of sheer boredom after the Hamburger Bahnhof Museum closed. Sorry to insult all of you who live there, but since I'm always being told that I live in the dirty part of Berlin, let me just highlight that there is worse. The boring part. Rather be dirty than boring. Let me consider signing the statement later. Anyways, today I was going out of my comfort zone. Not only because of entering Moabit, I was also going to have a naked first date. Yeah, for all of you who haven't been to Bali, it's a no textiles place. Me and my date were gonna do an instant striptease for each other. I was hoping for a cocktail glass to wait for me at the wardrobe. I'm downstairs, I texted when I stopped the car in front of Alex's house. Since he was inviting me, I had offered to pick him up, and was now waiting for him to join me on the passenger seat. The time was ticking. The rent on the car was on countdown. A 10 minutes drive was still ahead of us. I quickly opened my Spotify to change the music. My liked songs were playing and the shuffle setting was dangerous. I mean, how would you feel if you got into someone's car hearing "Nothing is real but love" coming out of the radio? Could be awkward, right? Or imagine what else could come up. "Hi, I'm Christina. Bring a bucket and a mop for this wet-ass pussy." Okay, one more. "Hi, I'm Christina. Fuck the pain away. Fuck the pain away." No, I'm not in that phase anymore. Back to my instrumental playlist. All the while I was busy deciding which music to play, WhatsApp hadn't made a single sound. I opened the conversation with Alex and realized that only one tick was under my text. He hadn't seen it. 10 minutes past the arranged pickup time, 20 minutes before I had to park the car. Is he bailing on me? I mean, a naked first date is daring. Not everyone has the balls to go there. And let me just say, I consider my ovaries my balls, so I do have them. But in the end, he was the one proposing, so he must have known what he was in for. Maybe he just doesn't have internet right now. Could be possible in Germany. I called him. What would have been absolutely forbidden in normal circumstances, to text and then to call after not getting an instant reply, it was the only option to bring the car back in time and not start another 24-hour rental on top. I rang for quite a bit until I finally hung up. He didn't answer. In my head, I was already changing plans. It wasn't so bad being stood up. I don't actually need him to go to Vabali. I can buy myself flowers and a ticket to the spa. Fuck it. I undid the handbrake and just turned on the blinker to reverse out when suddenly the message tone rang. "I'm coming now," Alex texted. Back to the handbrake. I was gonna have a date after all. It took another 5 minutes until the door of the building in front of me finally opened. Out of it came a man dressed for a fox hunt. Alex was wearing a black hat with a feather, big leather boots, tight black jeans, a shirt with open buttons, exposing at least 10 different necklaces. One of them was holding another feather, I realized when he sat down on the seat next to me. "Hi, how are you?" "Hey, nice to meet you." There was no time to talk about fox hunting now. We had 12 minutes to get to Vabali, so I reversed out and hit the accelerator. The attraction points that were heavily impacted by the amount of feathers Alex was bringing along went down a bit further when I realized he was now holding on to whatever he could, while I was taking one orange traffic light after the other. "I don't drive, but are you sure this is allowed?" he said while cramping up his right hand on the handle of the door. I was changing lanes to get past parking cars and busy bus stops, thinking to myself, is this guy German or what? "Well, we're a bit late," I said, meaning you were a bit late. 15 minutes earlier we could have taken a chill ride, but now we had to go through the stress. On the last minute, I closed the door of the car and terminated the rental. Yes, I was happy I made it in time. The Irishman was happy he survived. Relieved of all initial stress, we walked into the spa together. At the reception, we were greeted by a woman with a big smile on her face. Seeing us walking in, she obviously immediately understood we were on a date. Her grin got even bigger. "Hello, welcome," German or English? I let Alex do the talking, while I almost felt a bit shy, exposing to the receptionist that I'm going on a naked date with a guy into fox hunting. How has your day been so far? The woman asked. For a second I thought she had said, how has your date been so far? Stressful and not very promising, I already formulated in my head, when luckily the man with the feather on his head took the word. Oh, good, thank you. I have this voucher for 2. It's only valid today. I hope that's fine. Sure. All our vouchers simply extend for another year if you don't use them. Oh, Alex said now. The conversation stopped for a bit, while a weird silence was taking the space. I couldn't help but feeling that he was now considering whether even to have this date, or if it might be better to use his voucher another time, when the setup was less random and maybe he would be with someone that would visually fit him better. I imagined the reservations I held against his fox hunting outfit had translated into question marks about my sporty spice fit from his side. Looking at us, it must have been obvious that we were dating out of the usual. The receptionist stopped the awkward moment. But don't worry about it now, you pay when you leave, so just show the voucher then. Do you want separate lockers or is one fine for you? I don't mind, I said after Alex had again failed to fill the silence. Okay, I'll give you one together then. Little did I know that the woman had just set a security measure in place. I would thank her later. Passing the reception, Alex and I finally entered the spa area. A long path covered by an Asian-style roof construction serves as a passageway between the real world and Vabali. Once you arrive on the other side, all stress is behind you. So the idea. And it worked. I immediately felt calmer once we were among people in bathrobes that were walking around slowly as if they had changed into the chill gear. This would be us in a bit, but first we had to go through another possibly awkward moment. Now, I'm usually not particularly shy about my body, but take those circumstances. You're about to strip naked for a guy that just had second thoughts about actually going on this date with you. Well, it was too late to bail. The only thing to choose from now was the attitude. Proud and sexy, or shy and ashamed? Well, let me tell you, both ways were used. One by me, the other one by Alex. While I decided to let him look at me and feel good about my body, he was holding his trousers in front of his private parts until he wrapped a towel around his hips. He closed the locker and we walked out the wardrobe. Vabali for me is all about the outside space. Once you enter the garden, you're greeted by a harmonically shaped swimming pool, several wooden huts that house saunas, and my favorite, the Asian-style pavilions, equipped with beanbags and fluffy blankets. I want to smoke a joint before the sauna. Should we go to the pavilions for a bit? Alex followed me. We got comfortable and with a puff of joint, finally chilled out. Without the clash of outfits, we were more on each other's wavelength. To my surprise, I started to actually enjoy his company. He had some interesting insights into making music, and also the feather of his necklace that he was still wearing explained itself in the course of our conversation. Alex was an Irish folk musician. Funny, I thought. I'd immediately expected a techno producer when I read musician on his profile. Berlin prejudice, I guess. He was more into the analog kind of sounds, telling me about his guitar and how he had played it all the while the rain was ruling Irish weather. After a few more puffs, we finally were on our way to the sauna. We chose the hottest one first. I took off a towel that I had wrapped around me and laid it out on the wooden bench where I now sat down, exposing my naked body to the heat. Alex kept his towel wrapped around his hips when he took the place next to me. He seemed to be determined not to let me see him all naked. Fine for me, I thought, but I was not the only one in the sauna. The door opened. A colossal man with a big belly walked in and sat down a step below us. He was right next to Alex's feet, which he didn't seem to be very happy about.
Das Handtuch muss aber unter die Füße.
What? You don't go against the rules in a German sauna. You have to put a towel underneath your feet, I explained. Oh. Alex now got up and finally unwrapped his towel. After all his shyness, I was now wondering what he made all this fuss about. Once he had closed his eyes, I glanced over to take a look at his crotch. Looked all good to me. No need to be shy. While I enjoyed sweating out all the toxins, Alex lost his breath quickly. I think I need a break. Wanna go to the pool? I'll join you in a bit. He again went into an awkward silence. It seemed to be his thing. But then he agreed and left the heated cabin. A little later we met at the pool and went on to get a drink at the bar. I think I'm gonna have a coffee. What do you want? I think I kind of feel like a real drink. Maybe some bubbles? It's my birthday today. Oh, happy birthday, I now said. Thanks for the pressure, I thought. Sure, I'll get you a glass. I'll meet you at the pavilion. I arrived at the beanbags with our drinks, a piece of cake, and the burden of having to make his special day special, while already knowing that for me, this would not end up in a romantic situation. So all the best to you, I handed him the cake. Thanks, that's nice. Hopefully not too nice, I thought. I didn't want to get his hopes up. A difficult thing when you're into harmony and your aim is to make every situation a comfortable one. We chatted away a bit more before visiting several saunas together. It was already evening when we finally made it to the steam room, my favorite place. Alex made the usual beginner mistake of taking the towel inside. I guess he was still remembering the German guy that had scolded him earlier. No, you don't need a towel in here, I told him when I opened the door to the steam room. Never mind, he said, and now put the blue cloth straight onto the wet bench. The towel was completely drenched by the time we walked back to the pavilions. While he was twisting and squeezing the wet cloth, I lit the rest of the joint and leaned back into the beanbag while cuddling myself up in a blanket. What a nice day after all, I thought. Spoiler, my life is so ironic. Alex hung his towel on the railing, sat down, and resulted into using the blanket to cover himself. I handed him the joint that I had just taken another puff of. He leaned over, looked at me while I was blowing out smoke from my mouth. I smiled when I looked back at him. Maybe just a bit too much. Do you want to join blankets? This time, it was me that was leaving room for an awkward silence. Alex took a drag of the joint, his eyes still fixed on me. I cursed those blankets. I mean, I had a nice time with Alex. I was happy he had invited me. We had a chill day. It didn't continue as awkwardly as it had started. He's probably a good guy, and it was his birthday. I kind of owe him a cuddle, do I? But no, I really didn't feel it. The fox hunting outfit, the terror in his eyes while I was driving, the awkwardness at the reception, the shy towel situation, it had killed any attraction. I think I'm fine like this. I tried to use words that would least sound like, no, I don't want you. Like the least hurtful to him, where he would have the chance to just brush over it. But it dawned on me. Alex, even after all the saunas, was not as relaxed as I had hoped. On the last bit of smoke that he was now blowing out from his lungs, the end of a long joint exhale, he seemed to get my words stuck up the wrong tube. It was one of those bad weed coughs, the ones that get stronger the more you get into it. Well, Alex got stuck in it. For the next few minutes, he was coughing like he was about to die. I was next to him, awkwardly trying to just be there without pushing the drama too far. I handed him my water. Do you want? After a bit, he managed to use a short coughing break to take a sip, and so got back to breathing normally. Finally, I felt relieved, leaning back into my beanbag, now covering all but my face with the soft brown blanket. After Alex had closed the water bottle, he leaned back as well. We sat next to each other, both facing into the distance. This was definitely the most awkward of all silences we had been in today. I was thinking, even if I had let out a loud fart in the sauna, I would have felt more comfortable than now. In my head, I was fighting to find the next thing to say. Or should I just fart? No. I might be stoned and find it funny, but I have to leave this thought now. But how could I possibly come back from, no, I don't want to be under your blanket? I had no idea, and so the silence prevailed. It became even more awkward when a cheerful couple approached our pavilion. There would have been easily space for them too. But when they peeked in, I heard them say, let's go to another one. Of course, I thought, who'd want to join this vibe? I didn't want to be there either. I felt like I was sitting in some kind of confessional booth, having to regret all my wrongdoings. But it was not a sin to not want to cuddle him. Also, I didn't lead him on. I was friendly, if also naked, but I never tried to seduce him. Yet, I guess the ego is a fragile construct. Do you maybe want to go back to the panorama sauna? I finally said. His answer came swiftly. I think I'd rather leave now. We don't have to stay the whole day. I immediately knew what he was playing on. He was trying to save his voucher. Okay, then let's call it a day. I pulled the blanket to the side, stood up from my beanbag, and was ready to go. Alex wasn't that quick. He seemed confused about what to take and what to leave, although the only thing he had with him was his wet towel. Finally, we walked out the pavilion together. A little path led us past the sauna huts towards the main building and the wardrobes. Oh, I actually still have my necklace at the other sauna over there. I'm gonna go get it. Ah, I thought, the other sauna over there. Which one of the 20? I knew what this was about. He was trying to accidentally lose me and then only pay for himself on the way out. But I was not gonna let this happen. Sure, I'll come with you. I was just gonna follow him to all the saunas in the world if it had to be, but I was not gonna pay for this date full of awkward silences after having been generously invited. We went from sauna to sauna looking for his necklace. I knew he was never gonna find it. There was no necklace nowhere. But I was up for the search. After each stop where we didn't find it, I suggested the next one. Well, then the only one left is the panorama sauna, I said. We walked back towards the main building. Just when we came past one of the wooden huts, an infusion finished, and people with red heads came streaming out of the little cabin. It created quite a lot of commotion, and in the midst of all of that, Alex and I lost each other. For a second I thought he had won. He could just go and sneak out without me now. But then I remembered the receptionist. She had given us a shared locker. And that's where I was heading now. Alex joined me a little later. Oh, sorry, I lost you there. Sure, by accident, right? But I didn't comment. I just smiled and saw it as my revenge to stare at him like this for the rest of the time. As awkwardly as he had been taking off his clothes, he put them on again while I sat there, waiting for the time to pass. Finally, he was finished. He had no more options. He needed to walk to the checkout with me. Once we arrived at the reception, I handed the woman my wristband. So that's $35.80, please, and the entry is paid on the voucher, right? She remembered us. How could she not? Sporty Spice and Mr. Foxhunt. I tapped my card and then let Alex take the space at the counter. So I think we've only been here 6 hours, so maybe you can book off only that, not the whole day. The woman redirected her friendly smile to the computer screen. Sorry, but you're already 28 minutes over the 6 hours. I'll have to take the day rate. It must have been those 28 minutes that we were looking for his necklace. She was so unfriendly, no? Alex said when we finally got out of the reception. Really? Was she? Kind of. I knew his anger had more to do with the blanket affair than the receptionist, but I wasn't gonna comment. I was just happy to say goodbye. As soon as we hit the road, Alex and I walked off in different directions. We should have been floating after a whole day of spa. But all the tranquility that we had acquired in the hours before, the last bit of date had cost it all. Some things you only try once in life. For me, a naked first date in the spa will stay a one-timer. Hormone podcast is on Instagram, and I'm also gonna start to do readings. So for more dating stories, follow me.